It has not been easy for altcoin holders at all in this space, especially as we do really kind of look at altcoins nearing all-time lows, which is insane to say the least. But I don't want you guys to lose focus. There is a lot of significant things to focus on right now in this space. Number one is the integration of crypto, blockchain, and DLT into the global financial system, which we will be talking about and addressing in this video. But first, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. And also, if you haven't already followed me on all social media platforms, you 100% should do so because you guys are missing out on a ton of additional content. And also join the free Discord as well to make sure that you guys are crushing these cycles and taking profits in a very smart way. Now, with that in mind, let's dive on in and let's start off with this post here from Quant Network, which is last month, the Quant team attended the EBA Association's annual summit for leading payments and transaction banking executives. Now, within this full breakdown, it kind of gives us an insight on the interest from the bank side of things. For example, if we actually look at this event and just on the right side, if you look at some of those names, we have Citi there, the Euro Banking Association, Deutsche Bank, Nexi Group, which is tied into Quant already, HSBC, some very large players out there. And we have the time is now for banks to seize the lead in digital money. And if we scroll down, we have how can Europe's commercial banks and payment firms harness the power of CBDCs, tokenized commercial bank money, and programmable payments? The Quant team was at the Euro Banking Association's annual summit for leading payments and transaction banking executives last month with answers. And we have a quote over here from Gilbert Verdian: by embedding logic into money, banks can automate processes, make money intelligent, and create space for new types of use cases. Now we have members of the Euro Banking Association gathered last month in Lisbon for the annual conference. Several members of the Quant team attended as exhibitors and speakers to contribute to the dialogue. Over the course of the two-day event, the Quant team met delegates at our stand to share more about our work on the RLN, the Regulated Liability Network, the UK's retail central bank digital currency, how Europe's commercial banks and payment firms could leverage our technology to issue their own digital currencies, and the power of programmability in payments. Alongside the presence at the event, the founder and CEO, Gilbert Verdian, joined a panel of experts in a session on day one, the challenges and benefits of CBDCs, tokenized deposits, and stablecoin adoption, to discuss the benefits and risk of programmability and how likely the risk of market fragmentation is if banks were to chase after the same use cases. Now, they do mention a lot of the big names here that were at this conference, which I just went over a few of them. And there was a lot of other additional individuals here in terms of major banks, but here we actually have the landscape of different forms of money. So at the top, we have money itself, unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value. Then we have the public sector and the private sector. So we have public liability of a central bank, private liability of a private issuer. So the private and the public is completely different in the way money works, how things will look. On the left side, in terms of public, we have retail, accessible by anyone, wholesale, accessible by banks and governments. We have cash, physical, retail, CBDC, digital, Euro project, for an example. And then we also have central bank reserves, deposits on central bank accounts, wholesale, CBDC, DLT based. Then on the right side, we have commercial bank money, e-money, traditional deposits on traditional bank accounts, tokenized deposits, DLT based, e-money, and then stablecoins, DLT based. On the right side, we have crypto features, very private, no liability crypto coins issued by a protocol as the native coin of the DLT. And then we also have Bitcoin, Ether, etc. Now, we have the scene here is set by defining the different types of money, both public and private, to which he added, we need to get CBDCs right. What will be the effect on commercial banks? We're developing our own internal capability to tokenize currency and move it. Deutsche Bank partnered with clients and other banks to see how we can issue our own money and implement that. We've also analyzed how to use blockchain technology to allow 24/7 payments and programmability. The conversation then shifted to the benefits of tokenized deposits. This is when they began by pointing out that the industry is already digitalizing with DLT, but requires a new means of payment flow. This is tokenized deposits. Gilbert Verdian began by describing Quant's work in the space, building financial infrastructure that makes digital assets and tokenized money interoperable and transforming from electronic payments to digital. And that's where we really kind of look at where we are headed, right? We know that DLT, CBDCs, tokenized deposits, everything tokenized, that's happening. These things are happening right now. Now, one thing that I will mention here is the fact that Quant has been working with a lot of big players for a while. The RLN is definitely a big one. Remember what the RLN is, Regulated Liability Network, with R3 and other big players as well. For an example, here we have the participants: Barclays, Citi, HSBC, Lloyds Banking Group, MasterCard, NatWest, Nationwide, Santander, Standard Chartered, Virgin Money, and Visa. And again, Quant is labeled as a technology team and technology supporter. So this is a very, big innovation. This is something that we really kind of focus on, considering the fact that this is the Regulated Liability Network. Think about that. Regulated Liability Network. And what this is really solving for is programmability, interoperability, all around different forms of money, and also tapping into APIs. And this is all with the Overledger platform. Now, outside of this, you also have to remember that as we really look at what is going on here, Quant is the enabler of mass adoption of blockchain and DLT. If you hold XRP and HBAR and all these utility projects, you are betting big on Quant being successful. You might be saying, Nick, you're crazy. There's no way. Yes, there is a way, and it is 100% the reality. July 29th of this year, ISO Standards Conference. This was with Quant as well. They talked about ISO TC 307. What is ISO TC 307? Well, it's the standard that Quant themselves created. And this is the standard around blockchain and DLT. And if you actually look at this, right, there's 12 published ISO standards around this. There's 9 ISO standards under development. There's 45 participating members, and there's 19 observing members. If we look at the standards here, this is the structure. So you have the advisory groups, but then you have digital currencies, DLT, and carbon markets. You have the chair's advisory group. You have security, privacy, and identity for blockchain and DLT. You have smart contracts and their applications, governance, use cases, interoperability, and even NFTs. All of this, what this really is the standard in which blockchain and DLT actually gets integrated and utilized within the financial system, the global system itself, like even outside of finance. Like this is how blockchain and DLT gets adopted, utilized in all areas. But it's not just ISO TC 307, right? If we actually scroll down, we see DLT interoperability is a requirement. And this is all through, standardization as well with ISO TC 307. It's, a harmonized approach to standardization. But also, we look at the Finternet. We look at the Finternet, and we also look at other areas around DLT standards. We look at the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, which is a working group, which is focused on developing a more technical standard that complements our work with ISO and is focused on categorization and frameworks. And then we also look at the other areas here around, like, for an example, Association for Computing Machinery. They published a research article we contributed to and explored the pros and cons of a DLT interoperability solution. It's become a key source for the interoperability framework standard that is currently in development. So all of this is already in place, and Quant is tied to all of it. Now, the SATP, that's definitely something that I have been focused on for a while. This is, I would say, one thing that everyone needs to be looking into, because SATP is tied to a lot of CBDCs. And the goal of this, as you guys do see down here, is to develop a standard protocol which operates between two peer gateways. These could be two CBDCs, for an example. In the origin network to a beneficiary in the destination network, the resulting protocol shall be agnostic with respect to the type of asset being transferred. Again, this is agnostic transfer of two different CBDCs, connections between two different CBDC networks or closed systems. Like, this is where I really kind of look at, SATP being a very big game changer. And that's why we look at, Quant being tied back to that. Now, also, the Finternet gets brought up here. The Finternet is the new financial system for the future. This is the digital financial system. I have been reading into this, doing a ton of research on this, because this is pretty much everything that we've speculated on for years around, this new system that's coming. Because what this is the Internet of Value, tokenization, DLT, blockchain, connecting different systems, having that interoperability. I mean, this is crazy when you actually take a look into it, because if you've watched my videos for years, if you've really kind of been focused on ISO and all of these other projects around the ISO space, then you know that once the Finternet got published by the BIS, it confirmed all of it, because this is exactly what it's pushing for. Now, as we do focus on this, right, just like I said with SATP, CBDCs are the focus here. Big shout out to Tokenizer, because this is where we look at SATP fully. This is from Tokenizer. We have, ever since the successful release of Project Rosalind in 2023, we've seen the network effects of two-tiered API-based CBDCs taken off. There's now 12 confirmed CBDC frameworks that use the same API-based model, just like SATP. Now, if we look into this, okay, now on this list, Rosalind is probably one of the biggest ones that we focused on, because it does tie right back to Quant. Quant is actually, tapped in fully. You also have the UK RLN, Regulated Liability Network, that we just recently talked about. Like, these are the ones that actually involve Quant in a very large way. Now, you might be looking at all of these other ones and you're like, all right, well, is Quant tied to any of these? Well, if we actually look over here, okay, we have, but as of 2024, we're seeing the private sector take part, with the likes of the UK Finance directly using Overledger, and recently Germany's commercial bank money token, which also utilizes Nexi and SIA, Hyperledger and Corda, Nexi and SIA, tied right back to Quant. All different DLTs, and all requiring a source of agnostic interoperability between them. And this isn't to mention all the public sector BIS and central banks that have begun taking notice. Everything from Agora and the Unified Ledger to Israel and Japan's inspiration from Project Rosalind and Sila to form their own CBDC sandboxes. The BIS Toronto hub that recently opened building on Project Fuse and operating between the US and Latin America, and the Inter-Development Bank. Like, all of these, right? Every single one of these projects, this is all based around CBDCs with API-based standards behind them. This not only complements and builds upon Quant and what Quant has done, but it supports the idea of Project Rosalind, which directly ties back to Quant with the BIS, while the BIS is pushing for the Finternet, the financial system of the future, all based on tokenization, CBDCs, stablecoins. This is where Quant becomes a big piece of this puzzle. This is why I said, like, I'm betting big on QNT becoming massive in time. In the short term, yeah, it might not see massive potential because of, the fact that it is just based around CBDCs and central banks. It does have a lot more tied to it, obviously, but that's like the main selling point to me when it comes to QNT. That's why QNT, for me, I buy it, I lock away, and I store it on the sidelines until we finally get to the point where CBDCs are becoming a reality, which I do believe that they will be. And it is because when we look at the fundamentals here, it is a giant. It's a giant. And when we look at the platform, this is for enterprises. You have the integration, reliability, scalability, flexibility. All of this is through enterprise-grade API endpoints, seamless adoption, zero code, basically. The use cases are very big. It's not just around payments, but you also have supply chain. You have tokenization use cases, tokenized deposits around banking. Even over here, Overledger is built for any use case on any chain, featuring, plug and play simplicity, easy integration, code-free engines, agile design, comprehensive support, security and speed, multi-chain access. Like, all of this is what these major banks want. They don't want to change everything. They want to plug and play. They want to be able to just tap in. And that's exactly what Overledger is allowing them to do. Even here, you have tokenized RWAs, you have carbon credits and other NFTs, CBDCs and digital currencies. Pretty much any use case, anything that enterprises, institutions, banks, central banks, all of them want to do, Quant is who they are calling. Quant is who they are working with. It's the same exact reason why Project Rosalind is such a big deal to me, because it confirms just how big of a piece of this new system Quant will be. And the Finternet, the BIS, they already told you their plan here. That's why I look at Quant so heavily. That's also why I look at ISO TC307, which was designed by Quant, because this is that standard that we need in order to have blockchain and DLT adopt it in mass scale. This is crucial. And so is SATP. So when we really look at this, although, yeah, right now, crypto kind of sucks. Let's just admit it. Altcoins suck. They're at almost all-time lows. But don't forget the big picture here. Banks are now embracing this technology. Big institutional players are now embracing this technology. Long term, this space is going to grow astronomically. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter. And join the free Discord in the description below. And with it being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.